Good. What is good? Okay, I think that is set. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for your patience with me continuing the reading. Okay, for Sagittarius season, child. Thank you so much for checking us out. Thank you so much for the feedback that we've gotten on the readings, and I finally have some time to come in and actually take care of my people. Okay, all right. So I'm going to get right into it. Okay, just in case you didn't know, this is your girl Nala-Ife for Nala-Ife Talks Live, unscripted and off the chain. I hope that you guys are able to hear me just fine. We are going to be continuing with Aquarius. Then I believe we have Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius. Happy birthday to all of my Sagittarius. This is your season. Okay. And I'm going to pull some additional cards for you. And we're going to end with Pisces. Okay. So shout out to everyone who enjoyed the previous readings. If you missed your sign, the videos are located on our community tab, and you can also look at our video list and our recent live streams on our front or welcome page, and you should be able to find the most recent readings. I am going to reshare them to the community tab, so that makes it easy for you, okay, to find them. Now, I'm going to be a tad bit messy at the end of these readings, okay? So please stay if you care to, okay? I want to make sure to keep these readings about the Sagittarius season and how what are the messages coming through. I am going to be pulling from three different decks, okay? So what messages are coming through that are for the collective that belongs to either sun, moon, or rising, okay? For each of the signs that we have left, okay? And so what themes are going to play out in the collective, because when you read for groups of people, it doesn't always, it isn't always going to play out for one person the way it plays out for another person. And one of the things that I know I've struggled to do in the past, and I've even heard other readers will say, well, you know something, the way that general readings can work is that it literally, it could be situations where if it's not, if we're not speaking about you, in a sense of, let's say if we get, if in the off in the, if we get negative cards, because you get them, okay. If you are not, let me just say this, if you are getting readings done, okay, I know that the collective isn't ready for at least my type of reading style just yet. But I think that what we've experienced outside, no matter what your zodiac sign is, what we have experienced collectively is that we need less BS, right? And we need to be more exact. One of the things that I find when I acquire clients, and mind you, I risk not getting a five stars. I risk it because it's important to me that I build long lasting relationships with those who come to me, and they come to me for more than just maybe a love relationship, or it actually helps them. It doesn't, it's not always going to soothe one's ego. But if you have a great reader, they're going to help you work through the negatives, but and on top of that, show you where you can change things, because tarot's not set in stone. I'm not doing divination practices that are based on your fate. meaning that there are some things that are just fated, okay? We're not looking at deep with just tarot, okay? Tarot can talk about the energy. So let's say if you are not privy to a certain type of energy, or you have not made contact with a certain thing to know something for sure, right? If you are seeing a certain situation from your perspective, meaning that you don't have the privilege, or you have not made it so that you would have the privilege to know the other side of things. Or if, again, you carry a lot of guilt, undeserved guilt, but it could be guilt that we carry when we don't really understand how we fit into this world, or even the programs that we subscribe to, okay? That really kind of, when you really understand some spiritual ideologies, it's not that you are absolved, okay? Because the consequence sometimes is actually the blessing. Like, the consequence actually brings you to the things that you're hoping for. Does the consequence have to be harsh? Well, I mean, if depending on what was done, what harm, actual harm or influence, right? The consequence is not going to be that thing. It may be something else. It may manifest in another area where it is different, but it helps you understand on a soul level why that situation wasn't for you, or it cements why that direction, or the way that you may have handled something, or something you may have been involved with, or something that you perceived was genuinely not coming from the proper source, two ways, because of the opinions that you and the shared opinions of people who don't really know, or not in the know, or the opinions of those who share the same error in judgment, okay? Right? Or it could be even biases. And then on top of that, what I find about humans are miraculous beings. You really, the construct, it needs to be said when this, when we understand that we are children of the Most High, which doesn't seem to, some people really don't understand that and how that translates. It doesn't mean that you are a forever child, or you're ever adolescent or immature. It means that if you are the offspring, not a demigod, but an offspring of God, would, well, then that would denote what? Okay? It would denote that you have the same makings, but it is through time. And mind you, outside of this awareness, time doesn't exist. And the consequences don't exist, or the need for consequences don't exist. But we're here in this, like, little, like, this earth school in a way. And this is a part of soul development. So every part of the soul, not just what one perceives, but every part, which is one of the reasons why we have multiple lifetimes. This is the way that I subscribe to understanding. Now, these things, I'm very open to, to things changing. It's some things that my Taurus moon is very fixed on, okay? But that's my moon, and that's more personal emotions and how I feel about something, how I perceive it, and those things can even change. My goodness, is in the 12th house. So that's a mutable house. So even that, I have to have proof on a deep level that I can feel, and I can see the subconscious, making manifest in the conscious world. Um, and I can go there for healing, or I'm guided to go there, okay? Through healing, and with those who I have on my team for spiritual awareness. Shout out to BB. Salute, BB. What's up, girl? So, I see it as, this is a place for the soul to fully develop and actualize itself for the next level of development. One could have been something from a completely different star system. You don't even, if we go even to something that some people think is like crazy talk, right? And that's on them. I'm not really looking to appease anyone who can't appreciate it, because I'm not forcing them to be here either, you know. But if you subscribe to star systems, different star systems have different origin stories. This is a download that I received years ago. And the requirements of each star system have different resonating, like different frequency patterns. Okay? You said Nala-Ife. Okay, yeah. Thank you for that, BB. Thank you for that. They have different resonating patterns. So you have vibe, and you have the frequency of a vibration. Okay? And that, depending on the channel that one has decided that they need to learn or take back to their star system, this like, and listen, if you think that we are the only solar system or galaxy that has an earth with human beings in a universe that repeats itself, and is like, you see patterns, then this ain't the channel for you, baby. This, you gonna get lost real fast. Okay, you will get sucked through a vacuum into a black hole and not even understand what that is on this channel. Okay, but to assume that this is the only orbiting system would then take away the significance of even dimensional changing, which is what we see in quantum physics. um, what we are able to do with the constructs and concepts that are defined by quantum physics rules. Okay, even the construct of having a nexus would denote that there's a pattern or sequence to creation. We'll say it that way. Okay, there's a sequence, even if the sequence is different numbers, different vibrations, different frequency patterns. There's still a market, there's still something that designates one from another. Okay? Some people say that the higher you go up in dimensions, the more distorted the image is. Okay? And there may be some truth to that, the less separation, I guess, right? There may be some truth to that, because when you look at insect life, for instance, right? Outside, like a fly, for instance, right? It has many different views merged into one view. And from its level of life, that helps it evade, obviously, predators, but it also assisted with its flight. Okay, it ensures that at its level of life, it is able to cross a barrier. It is able to um, see the difference or texture of the environment. It increases its depth perception. Okay, according to what will give it the advantage, being a fly in its particular environment, to get it from birth to copulation or mating, right? To then breed, I guess, offspring, and then end of life, right? So one's vision in our body is very similar. Okay, I'm just speaking on just as a simple context because of the fact that we have patterns. Okay, our vision, though we may not have many different fractals the way a bug's eye is, we have peripheral control. We're able to see up, down, left to right, and we're able to see vision out the side the spear of our pupil, and the mirror or the reflection off of the top of the spear, where light enters into our optic nerve, refracts the image so that we can make sense of it based on what the catalog of information that we have stored over the time that from once we were born, what we learned throughout our childhood, adolescence, and so on and so forth. Okay, so our vision in this body is the only thing that we know at this level of life. Of course, we can increase it. We can, mimic it with certain types of cameras. But respectfully, if you are not if you are not incarnated in a particular dimension, what seems like everything is connected and there's nothing separating to have distinct values. Our eyesight and how we perceive sight and imagery would produce disembodied things. Not only that, you have to understand that if you're no longer, if an energy, or let's say the spirit or soul of someone or the essence of someone is no longer in a physical body, right? But we see phenomenon of lights, we see orbs and things of that nature. I just want you to imagine for a moment that you were able to vibrate the way that you would take a pencil, and you know how you would take a pencil and you make it go up and down, up and down, up and down. And the faster it goes, the more it becomes translucent. Okay? Think about once you shed from a physical shell. Okay? If you're moving at that rate of speed, they say that when you, depending on the spirit, you can either get heat sensations or cold sensations, and it's based on the source of the energy. If you're moving at that rate of speed, one just like a jackhammer, right? You notice how even though a jackhammer is able to cut through concrete, it has to have agitation and motion to assist it in cutting successfully and quickly. Well, just imagine if you are vibrating at such a rapid speed and you no longer have the lower density or low vibrational skin suit, you're able to pretty much orb through a wall because you're moving so rapid that it doesn't change the molecular or atomic structure, which isn't solid. Is put pulled together through atoms of different value, molecules of different values. You're able to move through without disturbing that value because of how fast you're moving. You even see that with a bullet. Certain bullets, depending on how they're propelled, right? They leave little to no mess. They go straight through. There's no blowback, right? They just go straight through. That's it. Some are designed, depending on the type of bullet, to explode and create a lot of damage. It basically goes in and it cuts through. Bing, 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 bing. And then when it exits out, it creates a big hole because it was cutting up the area before it exit out the bag. And it's done for a lot of heat. Okay? All right. So nonetheless, you still see the same construct, but if that thing moved faster, you wouldn't even feel it. And it wouldn't do as much damage because it's able to move molecules or molecules that make up a thing around at such rapid succession that it does not disturb the delicate floating and electromagnetic connections of each molecule and atom. It doesn't disturb it enough to create damage to where that it can't fuse itself back together again quickly. Okay, and then and so on and so forth. Okay, kind of like the construct of when I gave the example about X-rays. X-rays are lights. Well, guess what? On the other side of the film, the light had to pass through your flesh and your body, and the only thing it could not pass through was your bone, which is what renders the definition of your bone. and you survived the x-ray, but apparently you can't be exposed to so many times of that type of frequency going through you, because then it could change the way that what could it change? The way that cells reproduce, right? Because it is literally cutting through the body. So if you're exposed to that sort of light and those type of rays more than you need to, then it will start to produce cells that are not conducive to life in this form, because that's not a natural process to constantly be exposed to. Okay? So those cells would then work against what keeps you in stasis or in life in this realm. But it won't destroy the soul fiber that is able to then reconstitute itself, whether it's through, you know, revisiting, like, what is it called, reincarnation, if the soul so desire to do so. So it's a lot of stuff. Okay, it's a lot of things to really think about, but understand that we don't die. Okay, that we have to under we will come to with wisdom we should understand that the words that we say, our intentions with those words, and especially if we're using um transmitting using tools that transmit energy, that whatever we put out there, we also will have to cut through that or be cut with it, which is why they say live by the sword, die by the sword, live by the sword, die by the sword. Essentially, this is the way that you chose to die. This is the only option, because maybe by you living by that was the only option in which you handled other people. So therefore you design what in what way your exit would be implemented, okay? Through the energy that was put out surrounding you. And listen, swords can be words, rumors, lies, expressions, or literal swords. I mean, hey, okay? And sword can be translated into a gun, physical fight, anything where you're striking something, okay? Whether it's right or wrong, okay? And so, yeah. What's going on, Brownie Cakes? What's going on, girl? So, these things could be observed several different ways, okay? And the reason why I gave that analogy, I said all of that to say this, okay? If I'm doing a reading for you and I do not express, like if I'm doing general readings and I don't say, hey, now this is the energy surrounding Sagittariuses. This right here looks like someone's going to pay for mistreating you. Now, if you are that Sagittarius, and I'm sorry, I'm picking on you Sagittarius, but I'm just using an example because it is Sagittarius season. So please don't take this, to heart. But if I say that, whoever, the justice that's coming to someone, you're going to get justice. Well, if you in the equation are the one who has been unjust, justice will be rendered, but me pulling it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be rendered in your favor. You determine how that interplay between the energies that would be involved with the Sagittarian energy, your actions and the way you live your life and what you put out there determine where you are, right? If you're on one side of it or the other side. So it would be asinine of me and completely deceptive if I were to go and say, well, you know something? Somebody's going to get justice. What if you are that Sagittarius or that Scorpio or that Capricorn or that Gemini or that Aquarius who's been a complete fucking asshole? If I'm a reader and I care about people, I'm going to say, listen, I'm seeing this theme and I would like to believe that this is you getting justice. But I have to put this caveat in here. Because what good am I to you if I don't uphold accountability? And what good am I to you if I do not stress that you are powerful? which then translates intrinsically to the fact that you can also influence your environment, the people that come into your life, the people that leave your life, your choices. Your world will tell you. And as we age and as we experience life, we are to gather details in which make up wisdom. And we should see patterns. I would not set up my client who paid me good money to then tell them that despite the injuries, you're good as gold. You don't receive any consequences. There's nothing. Even if I am a defense lawyer, okay, I would need to I would want my client to tell me the truth, because how else will I be able to protect them? Right, wrong, or indifferent. Hell, I could be giving a reading to a known kingpin, and I'm gonna look at them and say, you fucking up, right? You know the ops are finna line you up, because if you act this way, you just made yourself vulnerable for them to come blow your brains out. And someone's reaching up on here because they didn't like that deal that was done with Eddie. The other boss, that you and this boss haven't been seeing eye to eye with one another. I would be horrible in that situation, especially if I'm working for someone who is not working on the right side of the law. As a matter of fact, the more of a criminal, at least for me, the more of a criminal that I am, the more straight up I need somebody to be with me. I don't want you to sugarcoat a motherfucking thing to me, especially if I'm in the business of working in an underground situation. Okay? If I'm being attacked, you need to help me, at least for me. I would want someone to be honest with me about the source of exactly how I had myself messed up and what I did to contribute to the circumstance that I found myself in. This is not about victim blaming, but if we are to evolve as a collective, then teach people, especially within the spectrum of spirituality, especially if you believe in the Christos whatsoever, that there's no penalty. What kind of wisdom is that? If you care about somebody, no, you don't have to be harsh with the truth, but you would be a fool to try to savor your relationship if you care about the person and not let them know where the drop is going to happen, all for saving face. That's delusional and it's dangerous in them type of terms. But then let's talk about what I do here. If I have a client and my client is worth a lot of money and they're about to go into an acquisition, and though they have paid a lot of money to prepare to go into this acquisition, if I see something from my expertise, because I don't care about 5 stars, because I'm not going to go lower than a certain amount. I'm going to have it where you know that it's gritty. I don't care about 5 stars. 5 stars says that I'm probably telling people what they want to hear. Or I'm not really impacting. You know what gets me, and maybe it's just me. Okay, this is my perspective. I like it when people get pissed off and come back to me 3 months later and say, you know what, I am so sorry. You know how many 3 stars I've turned around to 5 stars? And I sit back looking at my nails like, yeah, bitch, I told you everything you said in one of my platforms on ISIS. Everything you said, ISIS, was legit. I didn't want to hear it. My ego didn't want to take it. It was on point. And I sit there and I just look at my nails and I'm like, yeah, child, it's okay, baby. Ain't because it's not because I'm some savior. Because in order for me to read for you, you have to be willing to hear your spirit guides. The genius is not always coming from the reader. The genius is coming from the reader consulting with your life plan and those who walk with you, too. So, really, you're the genius because a lot of this is in your subconscious. I have moon in the 12th house, so I can read what's going on with someone subconsciously, things that you're not conscious of. I'm sitting there looking right at it. Not only that, I have sun in the 8th house. Whatever secrets you have, I see them. I may act stupid and act like I don't see them, or you may never be the wiser to it. But if I ever had the wrong streak of energy in me, I could light you up like a Christmas tree. Oh, I could if I wanted to. But there are also consequences, and there are levies and fines that come with certain types of gifts. And we all have our limitations, and we all have things we need to master. Okay? BB can tell you right. She's writing in the chat right now. She could tell you how many times I've been like boom, 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 or said something a certain kind of way, and it was giving. I'm gonna say this: you want your reader when you are making decisions that are related to your money, your love life, your business, your work, to be direct. I have my own reader. I can read for myself because I am a compartmentalization queen. But I also have a reader because, irregardless to how much you can see, the way that something happens, you can't always prepare for, even though you stay ready. Not only that, if you've ever experienced any type of major, life changes, you got to learn how to move different. You got to literally learn how to walk again. Not, I didn't have to learn how to walk again, but I had to learn how to walk again. Does that make sense? Some people don't really understand because they've never had to walk a day in another person's shoes. So their perspective of what they see you as and the totality of what they see you as and the job that they have assigned to you is based off of the limited awareness of self that they have of themselves. They are projecting their limitations upon you as if you're not the fucking truth. Now you have people get up here talking about the truth all the motherfucking time. And the bitch is a whole lie. With the nerve to have Mercury in dignity. That bitch is a whole fucking lie. And because they are such a lie, they assume that you want to. Now, it's true. Gemini can have their way. I'm a Gemini rising. Can have their way of saying, bitch, I don't owe you the truth. Well, you know something? That right there, even as disrespectful as that sounds, it does state that the Gemini has a little bit of respect for you, right? But when somebody comes to you and say, bitch, I don't owe you a lie, that should pretty much set you right. I don't owe my enemy the truth of anything. But I don't owe a person who is not my enemy, but is someone who has me fucked up, a lie. Because they're living the lie that they're putting off on me. I don't owe you a lie. And that's going to be the general message in Sagittarius season. It's not about the people you don't owe the truth to. You don't owe people any motherfucking thing, okay? That's first and foremost in this world, okay? You don't owe nobody anything, okay? Unless you went into an agreement in which you have loaned or you have been loaned something that you both understand and is on contract. There's no question about it. It was a handshake agreement or a physical contract or a verbal contract. Okay? But outside of that, you don't owe a motherfucker not have some hurt. Listen, people don't owe me. Oh, they don't owe me to not have my feelings hurt. It's not their job to skirt around my feelings. So when a person says that I feel like I'm walking on eggshells, this is where I'm gonna tell a person, take your power back, because you don't have to deal with anyone who you feel makes you feel like you're walking on. You don't have to deal with them. The reason you feel that you have to walk on eggshells is because in the first place, especially if you don't have to deal with them, you really don't have to deal with them. It's because you are trying to do something to change the temperature with this person and how they receive you, or how you perceive them you perceive them to need to change in order for you to feel comfortable. You've not yet asked the question, do they feel uncomfortable in your presence? Do you do things, behave in certain kind of ways where certain people who are just no nonsense are not fucking with you? Do you give off mixed signals? Do you make an ass out of yourself and a person just doesn't take you seriously? You have to intrinsically know someone before you can assume that you have to do anything for them. When you don't know someone, that person doesn't have to make you comfortable. You're not doing business with them. So check your ego. This is what we're going to be learning as we go into the age of Aquarius. Right before I do the Aquarius, you check your ego. They don't have to do anything to make you comfortable. Who are you? You've not established yourself as this person's business partner. You've not acknowledged them, so they're not your coworker. You don't even have to cross paths. So why you feeling like why do you have to feel like this if they're not essential to your life? And this is what I would tell a client. Well, man, I have 50% of my clients are males, and some of my clients have commissioned relationship coaches on YouTube, which I find very interesting. Hold on. Because again, you have to kind of know, when people know something, they know something, right? And I know that at first I was gonna hold it, but I'm like, wait a minute, I'm gonna still hold it, okay? Because I'm not that shady, okay? What I'm gonna be shady about, it ain't got nothing to do with that. But what I will say is this: what I'm learning is that people insert themselves and then project onto someone to which they have not developed any sense of esteem with that person that holds any kind of real world weight, and then get angry that the privilege to which they have been able to experience with others is not reciprocated with this person. Take it personally, feel bad about themselves, but instead of questioning why, they still project that onto someone else. So if you live that way, then what that means is that you inherently invite the volatile energies into your own life. For example, and everything I'm using is very mutable and very Aquarius. Aquarius is who's up next. The mutables, the four mutables are afterwards. If a way that you want to live your life, it is not fucking compatible with the people in which you are attracted to, okay, with the mentalities that you are trying to attract, then who are you to get angry or beside yourself if that person doesn't accept that as a reality for themselves? No one owes you that no one owes you that. Get over yourself. I mean, really. And then on top of that, men and women, but men especially of recent, you forget that you have introduced yourself by telling women that they are three-fourths a human being. And if you think that after you have established that someone doesn't have value because of their weight or their class, that they should value anything that you have to say, sir or ma'am, however it applies, you shot your own self in the foot. You put a great value banner on your own shit. You are a generic bitch trying to be Frosted Flakes. And we are sick of this goddamn shit. Okay? You did that. You played in our face. Your cereal came in a bag and it came from Save-A-Lot, bitch. It did not come from, okay, General Mills. Okay? It did not come from Kellogg because you wanted to save money. You wanted to save money on your insurance with Geico. Okay? Which meant you wanted to cater to some discount bitches and mad because the bitches who want the brand name don't want that shit and trying to make us feel bad about it. Well, if you didn't invest that in your marketing ploy, fuck out of here with your feelings. You didn't care about my feelings when I was big as a planet or three-fourths a human being or when the blood, sweat, and tears that I put into my work and my being and my individual didn't add up to you or what you think in your fantasy as to what I was supposed to be. You think that I would take your opinion. Now, I want you to understand this. Y'all listen to this and download this frequency up in here. You mean to tell me I've went through my life that did not involve you? You didn't cut a check. You didn't make it easy. You didn't ride that bus for me. You didn't heal me from the flu that damn near killed me and took me the fuck up out of this bitch. You didn't put the oxygen tank in. You didn't have to deal with the asthma. You didn't have to deal with the eczema. You didn't have to. As a matter of fact, you rally for men. And I'm going to use this right here because we finna go in on this one. You rally for people who actively choose to abandon and make life much harder for their seed. Fuck the parent. But the seed, the life that is created. And then you go and want to harp on the Bible. Your Bible tells you to not drop your seed outside the confines of the womb. First and foremost. And so if you're not willing to take advantage, take care of what is created in that situation, since you want to talk about the Bible and talk about Eve and not even interpret Lilith, and you got that information from Judeo-Christians who in fact do talk about Lilith, who was Adam's first wife and definitely not created from his rib. See, I'm going to tell you something. Y'all finna learn you something today. And then when they say that, and that's how you know a bitch is ignorant. When they say that Eve was created from a rib, go and look up the etymology of rib. I posted it on my community page because I knew it was going to be an argument. Look up the etymology of what a rib is. Because we have to understand that you're reading it in English. And we have to understand that English is a new language. And we have to understand where English came from. And I'm going to tell you something. When you look up the etymology and you look at the Indo Germanic or the Indo Latin, you will also see that they lend themselves to Sanskrit. Now tell me this, if your Bible is so complete, why is it that the very language that is written in has to be backed by definitions that come from Sanskrit, which is Hindi or Hindu? A whole other language and an alphabet system and significance. So you ascribe your belief systems from definitions and language that was crafted from Sanskrit. I guarantee you, in Sanskrit, a woman is not 3/4 of a human being. Now go and look up the etymology of rib and then get back to me on that Adam and Eve story. Because it's gonna when Nala the Neptunian shows up, we finna shut this shit the absolute fuck down. Because I'm sick of ignorance permeating the community. You done lit a fire now. It's finna get real. If I'm gonna be a bitch, let me earn it. Cause I'm really good at that. And at the end of it, you gonna know I'm that bitch. We'll see you real soon. Okay? Not only that, I'm gonna fuck you up spiritually. But anyway, moving on, okay, to the next thing that we're gonna talk about before we get into these readings. If people don't want to relate to you a certain kind of way, they don't want to become what it is that you have designated you human, you mundane human, this other being that is also a child of God. It didn't say 3/4 a bitch. It said a child of God. It didn't say, oh, the vaginas mean it's 3/4 of a human. No, just the one with the penis is the fucking human. It didn't say that. It said child of God. It didn't designate it to a sex. This is where we get the illiteracy of the literation of biblical scholarship. Oh, bitch, I'm going to tell y'all ass a whole new one. You're doing it anyway. In your little circles and stuff, huh? Okay. Circle jerking and shit, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So anyhow, let me go and stick on it because this right here, it's going to get real. Like you are admitting that you're illiterate. I just want you to understand that. You are admitting I'm a dumb bitch. Because in 2021, the age of information, especially if you're coming up against me and I'm a wordsmith, and you really think that shit gonna hold water, and you ain't did your research, you asked for this ass whooping. Because this means that you're not really a Christos. Because you're not studied and you've not shown approved. You've used rhetoric that displays that you've only heard the word, you've not read the word. You've not sought for understanding. You have not petitioned God. And yet you use the terms of God to define my position and role as a human being. You want to play? We can play up in here. Or do you want to learn? Because you can't serve two masters. And there is one universe. And you are a part of it. But there's also the religion of self. And you can't serve two masters. And if I don't subscribe to your belief, then I am not less than a human being. I am a human being with choices. And if the opposite sex of me doesn't subscribe to what you are stating, then what you're stating is not apparently the absolute truth for everyone. The male, the divine feminine and masculine dynamic shows up in many different ways. And another thing too, for you human beings out here who keep on talking about that we're animals, I want you to understand that there are three different kingdoms. The kingdom that governs animals spiritually. So don't talk to us. That doesn't relate to us. You can be an animal. You can be a devolved spirit because God does not speak to you. And then you use the Christian Bible, which has me laughing my ass off because he does not speak to you as if you are a wild thing, as if you are an animal. He speaks to you as if you are his child. So by nature and design of the use of words, you would be saying that God is an animal too. Is that what you're saying? Animal? You animal? You saying God is an animal? Your God is an animal? Okay. Animals are the animal kingdom. We are human. We're not the same. Okay? Fernando Proudhon gives a excellent breakdown of humans and us containing spirit, which then deduces us to have consciousness, animal kingdom, and also plant kingdom, the planet. What this big old thing we're sitting on is named after plants. Get it? Planet, net. So you have the plant kingdoms that belong to the plants. You have animals, and then you have humans. These are three different branches of life. So no, you're not an animal because you have cognitive reasoning and intelligence that supersedes that which is limited with animal life. Okay? There's different, oh, just in case you didn't know, there's different levels to this. All right? You can have the energy of a lion, but you are not the lion. Also, too, for you multi-family households, the earth is pretty freaking populated. There's a lot of children that need to be adopted. So instead of having a bunch of kids in broken situations, if you want to spread your seed, why don't you spread your thoughts and your teachings and adopt some of these children? Bet you never thought about that because it didn't have anything to do with busting a nut. Why don't you adopt some of these children and imprint your knowledge, because that's going to stay. Remember, children don't seem to keep information about where they come from, especially if they're abandoned. But I guarantee you, if you teach a child and you nurture that child, blood or not, that's going to imprint on that child, and that child will continue to imprint depending on what you do and the influence. Your influence would spread rapid, just like an army or a military. So while you want to populate everything, what about these children that are abandoned and that need homes? Take your resources. You care so much about young black males. What about the ones that are in the system? I find it funny that we don't want to take care of someone else's child, but then we care about the children. Okay. Okay. So you don't. You can't serve two masters. Which one is going to be? Do you care about, if you care about the children, then you would see that your way of life is imprinted in those. If you don't want to directly be taking care of another man's kids, I completely understand. But where are the proceeds to take care of those who don't have homes and don't belong in certain, and don't have families to which they belong? If you care so much. So it's very much about sex. And I would rather, that's what I mean by being honest. You're not an animal. You may act like one. You may be a rabid human being, okay, that has rabies, you know. You may have mental conditioning because of circumstances and political structures that make you feel a bit wild in the head. And the only way that one can express their frustration is through the overt use of sexuality. But just because you limit yourself to that doesn't mean everyone else has to, or be limited by your scope of understanding and definition. But for real, for you men, go out there and look up the etymology of the word rib. And I suggest you even consider learning another language since you want to, intermingle. Probably would do you a world of good and help you connect back to your source and establish yourself so that you don't have to incite a murderous rage in order to have other people establish that for you that are not in covenant with you. Can't even agree to the way that you want to practice Christianity. And do you think you're ready to lead a nation? That part. Okay? You tried it. You tried it, but we're not going to play that. This is the age of Aquarius. We are moving out of the age of Pisces, the age of illusion, and the age of following just because someone said that this person is the Messiah. We start to understand that there's information, there's nuances, and we take it away from waiting for someone to save us to being responsible for the choices that we make and the environments that we put ourselves in. A man can read 1,000 books, but it doesn't mean that they will gather the wisdom to discern the words that they have read. So you can miss me with, I read all these books, but you act like an idiot. That means you didn't have the wisdom to discern what it was that you were reading. And I even doubt that you read it. Okay? Because a lie don't care who tell it. Anyway, as a reader and a reader, okay, I like to put grit in my readings. I like to give you contrast so that you become the master of your environment, master of your life. You take back control instead of being a victim that no one will lay the red carpet out for you. Because nobody's going to save you. Because some of you don't want to be saved. You want to be enabled. Like a remote, like a battery operated robot. You want to be switched off and then turned on. Because you don't want responsibility for the direction and the path that you're carving out for yourself. Such fragile egos, but want to rule the world. No wonder we are in crisis. Global warming about to tear motherfuckers. Left to right. Israel. Let's get on that really quick. Did y'all know Israel has some of the highest occurrences of skin cancer? That's interesting. I'm not going to lay out why that's significant because I don't think that people should have access to why that's significant if they've not done they've done the, they use their rationale to understand why I'm saying that. Okay? I just find it interesting that an environment to which people who belong to that place would then become toxic to them. Because because skin cancer is not increasing for people in Africa because those people belong there. Oh, did I say too much? Okay. All right. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. But look it up for yourself. You'll see it. Okay? I'm just saying. Y'all talk about helping your brother and your sister, and you literally see your brother and sister going crazy, and you won't even do them the solid to tell them the truth that they've been had, because your identity is so closely linked with your ego. How can anyone be sorrowful when those who are supposed to lead can't demonstrate what that fucking means? Okay, you can't demonstrate what it means to be humble, but you want other people to do that. But you're the leader, right? Okay. All right. Let's move on. Aquarius. Let's go ahead and get your 3 card reading, okay? We got people with a lot of audacity in Aquarius. I'm just going to say this. It may be the hardest on you because you are a fixed sign, okay? And you do relate to intelligence. But we could also know things and know them very well, okay? But remember, we could know a thing, but if we don't understand it from a perspective that actually gives it the ability to last, it shall fall off the foundation and need to be rebuilt anyway. That's like you have different size wrenches, you have different size screws, you have different sizes. So just because something calls for a screw, what size screw? The size would be the perspective of what is needed to make it work in that environment. So yes, the intelligence says it needs a screw, but what size is appropriate for the application of the appliance that you are adhering? That's where wisdom comes in, okay? And so this is going to be something that Saturn is going to require of you. Remember, Aquarius is ruled by both Saturn and Uranus. And your planet, Uranus, is in the sign of Taurus. So if you don't have a lot of earth energy, or you have like placements that interact negatively with Taurus energy, then this transit is going to work with you to as an opportunity to give you a perspective of the quick manifestation of your actions. You actually have to sit with what changes you are inspiring, which is not an experience that you've had a lot of time with. You know, Uranus in Aries is quick, and Aries is to get a thing started, okay? But Earth grounds electricity, right? And it brings form to the change, and it's dense. So it's no longer a world of ideas, it's a world of forms from ideas. So Aquarius in Sagittarius season, you're going to be getting that Jupiterian, you know, enlightenment that whoa. That's why it's weird. It's not that I don't have the intelligence. I've never had to sit with the form because I am air energy. That's not earth energy. That is also fixed, like you are. So now you have to sit with the forms, which require one to then be a steady source to see a thing from the beginning and the end, that has to be physically moved around instead of just the intellect. One's intellect actually will come into physical form that one has to contend with. And so there may be a little bit of difficulty, especially when you have Jupiter expanding that shit. So whatever it is that you're doing, it's expanded with Jupiter, and you also have Saturn there constricting you in a way and teaching you in a way, okay? Without the aid of Uranus to provide you freedom, it's almost like you're going to have to go through this very rigid maze. And every time there's an action, the maze gets denser and it goes further into the forest and it multiplies because Jupiter's doing his thing. But it's working with Saturn to show you that you're going to have to travel within the confines. And it's not just you, it's the collective consciousness. That there's many different nuances in the roads and paths that we go forward. And there's generalizations and one size fits all arguments do not satisfy the requirement for the collective. So maybe this is the first time in your life that you've received as much pushback as you've had. And then it's like you have to keep an equal balance, right? Because you're not used to that kind of pushback. It's kind of whatever I say, tends to be brilliant for the group. And I did it for the group, yay. But now you are meant to feel something that you've never had to potentially in this lifetime as an adult deal with. And that is your ego. You've always felt that the Leo ego was beneath you on some level. Because what do you need with an ego when you're the God? Let me fix this. I know. It'll all work out. And so now you're being put to the test. And it's like, oh, that thing that all worked out, we're going to need the nuances. We're going to need it for option A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Well, why don't you guys just go this way? Well, these are the limitations of each of these people. How do we then make it so that everyone with these differences can then come and meet and it makes sense for everyone? So your range is expanding. Your words are expanding. The way that you apply them are expanding. So there's more that has to be accounted for. And this is the lesson that Saturn is teaching you through its transit. Not only that, if you want freedom, then you're also learning that your freedom cannot impose on the freedom of someone else's. It's like a wake-up call, right? If you want to rebel against the system, you are a rebel with a cause. Well, now we see what it's like if you are rallying for a cause that then interferes with someone else's cause. And we have to make new changes to the nuanced details now. Because Jupiter is expanding its range while Saturn is making very real to you the difference in brackets. And your ruler for the next 5 years, 6 years will be in a very real and material sign of Taurus. So instead of experiencing Taurus energy from the outside looking in, you're very much a Taurus right now. They used to be an Aquarius. So this could be adding to the discomfort. But now, what I will say with the wisdom, unlike any other sign, because your energy is very potent, you now understand what it means to slow down and why slowing down adds value to not just one subset that you belong to, but to the conjoined values of several different factions that make up the collective. Not just the collective that you are surrounded with and that you are familiar with, but the collective that encompasses things that you are not familiar with, that you're not privy to, and that you do not have personal experience with, nor does your experience encompass as wisdom to be applied to that experience. Maybe it does, but at a high level, but not in a way that could be effective without dissecting. Not only that, you do have Pluto coming into your sign. So to be quite honest with you, it may be a blessing that your rulership is in. I'm just giving you the Sagittarius higher ideal, ninth house, seeing as though I have Aquarius in the ninth and the 10th house, in my Sagittarius house and my Capricorn house with Mars there, of what it actually is, what it is and what it ain't. Now you have to actually account for that Aquarian ideal. Because once Pluto gets here and starts transforming the collective, you need to be prepared for that type of transformation. Again, you're used to being the one that actually is the water bearer, who bears the intelligence of the heavens. Well, now in your agreement to experience life through your human form, you will know what it means to have to transform yourself. And this is what Saturn in your sign, Jupiter in your sign, came into your sign, about to leave and go into Pisces, and what Uranus in Taurus is about. Okay? These are giving you the tools to deal with your 10-year transit of Pluto in your sign. This is why I said you could very much use a Capricorn friend, because Pluto has been something else with the Capricorns, but we will never be the same after this transit. Okay? So though you may not get to move as fast, remember, you don't control the way Pluto transforms. Pluto transforms based on what your fears are. So whatever it is that you fear, start to work on facing the thing you fear, because it will be brought front and center to you once Pluto enters Aquarius. Not just for you, but then let's magnify this for the collective and all their nuanced issues. And Pluto transforms. It's power and control, baby. So whatever it feels you feel that you're powerless over, you will be forced to deal with that in order for you to learn that you had the power the whole time to control your fate and how you dealt with it. Okay? This for you is actually where your intelligence will do the best, or it will need to. Your magnanimousness, your ability to rebel against the status quo is going to be needed. Okay? So the higher minded ninth house Jupiterian message here, my dear, is to get used to change, to which you must absorb new information, not about the world around you, but observe information about yourself inside the world around you. It's easy to fix the external world. It's a bitch to fix the internal. So get familiar with looking inward and finding out, well, what motivated me to think, to come up with that answer. I know it was received. I'm not used to my things being received and people responding in a contrary way. But what motivated me to deliver that? And then I could get down to how I could make what I know to be true understandable for those who I am charged to enlighten. Does that make sense? It's like what you know is the truth, but the translation or transliteration of that knowledge now has to answer the problem that's created by the Tower of Babel. If that makes any sense, okay? And so this here can manifest in your relationships in Sagittarius season. Okay? It can manifest in your business. It can manifest in the decisions that you have to make, the things that become significant, how money flows to you, the rules around money and taxes, because Pluto's right behind. And we do have Mars in Scorpio right now. Scorpio rules other people's money, taxes, and inheritances. Inheritances. Okay? So what are you inheriting? Or what is it that those who come after you stand to inherit? Will that be a body of intelligence, or would it be illegible information that doesn't make sense for the modern day world? You have to decide that and be open enough to receive. Number one, that you actually do have an ego, that you do like attention, but also maintain that you are one of many at the same time, and that one size doesn't fit all. Welcome to the age of the gods. Okay, so if you're lucky enough to have Aquarius, you know, highly illuminated in your chart, I would defer to Virgo. If you have Virgo, then that's awesome. It actually helps make you a powerhouse. And I would also defer to Taurus. Okay? Virgo discerns what is of worth and what needs to be put in file 13. And Taurus is the value that is ascribed to what we determine to have some worth. Okay? And that will help ground that big, beautiful blast and ball of intelligence and electricity into real world solutions that are practical and can be implemented at a moment's notice, whether in your own personal life or in group settings to which you are an essential part of the evolution of the peoples. Okay? All right? So that's what I have for you. Okay? Real quick, let's go ahead and give you this. Okay, we have the Tower card. That is Uranus in Scorpio. The Tower has nothing to do with Capricorn, for those of you with that nonsense. But all right, you know how I am. I'm a little shady. Okay, I'm sorry, but it really is. It really is Uranus and Scorpio that's represented by the Tower card. But it is the Tower that must come down. Okay, representing sudden changes, sudden flashes of ingenious, but also sudden revelations that shake the foundation and bring down that which isn't built on a solid foundation or doesn't have a solid footing. We also have abundance around the corner with that. So it comes with opportunity. Okay. This is Sagittarius season and it's beautiful sextile to your energy. So with this, please try to be try to look at it from the most positive. Let yourself cuss. Okay. Let yourself go in and get a little pissed off about it. Okay. But then do not spend the whole time pissed off, because in this there's going to be an opportunity for lasting abundance, because you will be able to make good off of your abilities to intellectualize your problem solving gifts. Okay? Which could then turn around to liquid gold for you. Whatever you have decided is liquid gold. Okay? That could be cold hard cash, assets, real estate, any of those things, okay? But it will be coming off the tails of what some people would perceive to be a crisis, and you is like grace under fire. You know what I'm saying? Like real God strength. All right? And it's almost like whatever you've been training for, unbeknownst to you, your whole life will actually be put to the test now and deliver something miraculous, okay? And that's what Jupiter or what Sagittarius season is going to download into your conscious mind. Okay? This will also help you in your personal life, in your interpersonal relationships, where you may experience blow ups from stubbornness. Well, it's going to give you an opportunity to learn more about, first and foremost, yourself in those environments, which will help answer a question that removes a block, I'm hearing, so that you could then bring abundance to an area that it wasn't as fertile, or it's going to help you break through between you and your partner what is kosher and what isn't, what you expect, what they expect, and how you both can meet in the middle to make sure that neither one of you have to feel as though you are going without for the other person's happiness. Okay? So it's one of these kind of come to Jesus moments, all right, that actually strengthens the bond. This is if it's an existing bond, okay? Otherwise, it'll just be wisdom that you learn in situations that will come back to back, right? You'll know what attributes work for you, which means that you won't waste as much time, right? Because what doesn't work will be blown to smithereens, thus giving way and giving back you your attention and your bandwidth to things that bring in abundance for you and actually are not full of trap doors, if that makes any sense. Okay? And last but not least, oppression. The Ten of Wands and then art. You will have the artful skill and balance, because I'm using the throw deck, to blast through what others would perceive as oppression or stagnation that you previously had to contend with. You have the recipe. You have the dynamite card, the tower card, which will trump this 10 of wands, okay? You are ready to blow the gate wide open because you've done the work, okay? You've built the strength. And not only that, you have the protection of wisdom. You also have success. When you come up with a solution such as abundance, when you're coming up against chaos and coming up against the strength to overthrow oppression, that's pretty badass, Aquarius. Okay? All right? And so when you accomplish these things, damn what anyone else thinks. You still, you right there by yourself and with your spirit guides and your ancestors, and your people, the ones who are essential to your life. You accomplish these things on your own with their assistance. Because the ones who didn't assist, they don't matter. So how can you tell a giant they ain't a giant? How? How do you tell Godzilla is not Godzilla? Like what? You mean to tell me that you're barely 6 feet or right over 6 feet and I am towering over a skyscraper and you down there trying to convince me I'm not a giant? All right. I don't have to see you at the top because I see the top. I can see it. I'm looking down at the top of something. That part. Okay? That comes in handy for you. And when you realize that it's not a bad thing that you're a giant, then those who can see you from the proper perspective and can appreciate what it's like to have a giant inform them. That's where the Ace of Pentacles comes from. I would know. I have Mars in Aquarius. Okay? They ain't seeing me out here. These astrologers, I don't know what the hell and why they don't understand what Mars in a sign of Aquarius actually operates like. It's a beast of a placement. I don't get it. Anyhow, Godspeed, Aquarius, okay? You're a fucking giant in a land full of miniatures. Remember that, okay? All right. So that's that. All right. That's Aquarius. Now mutables. I'm finna do Gemini, and y'all, I'm finna run through because y'all got y'all message within the series of messages. Okay. You need to see an Aquarius. Get with an Aquarius. Make an Aquarius friend. I suggest. Okay. And by what I mean by that is an Aquarius rising or an Aquarius sun. Okay. All right. If it's an Aquarius moon, you need to get with some actual Aquariuses. Okay. All right. Okay. The age of Aquarius is not by about a single ruler. It is about society rules. Get it? So if you still on some kind of individual rules for the nation, then it's going to be a real tough couple of years or decades for you. Okay, and I don't like to see that for people. I like to see people actually do something courageous with their life and not boring and extra predictable. Okay, so Gemini, let's go ahead and get into your messages, Gemini. I'm going to pull 3 cards for you. And the first one is beautiful creatures. What are the messages for Gemini and Sagittarius season? So the first thing I'm getting before I even get a card, in Gemini, the sun is in Sagittarius. A lot of people don't explain it this way, but the sun is actually positioned in Sagittarius. So what this means is that across the ecliptic or across from you, you have a spotlight that is looking at you. You standing in front of that spotlight creates a shadow behind you. So if you look behind yourself, you will see a perfectly etched out shadow from the light of the sun shining on your energy. Does that make sense? So you can see the etchings on the wall of your person. All right. This is an opportunity for you to make use and exploit your shadow side. Okay. However you understand that, make it apply. Okay. Other people see you because, again, the sun is opposite you. Okay. That's how it works. It's in the area of Sagittarius. So right across from you on a wheel is sitting. So it's like it's being pointed towards you. Okay. So everything that you do, say, or however you react is crystal clear to people. In other words, okay? Versus with Sagittarius, the one who sits on the other side, not so much. It's their season, so we're in their energy and we're celebrating, but we can see you because the light is on you. And it's very bright, if that makes any sense, okay? So that's why, it feels like people are a little bit more sensitive to your actions and what you say or what you do, because we can see things that we normally don't see, because we normally don't have this perspective until we are in Sagittarius season, okay? What I believe is not so much what people can see, because Gemini knows that people's opinion change day to day. No one really stands on what they believe, and people are allowed to evolve, thus changing the opinion of the populace. But what is important, Gemini, is that you are able to turn around and look at the shadow that you're casting on the wall and interpret about yourself the things that normally are hidden to you. Okay? So your shadow is going to be making a major appearance this season. Now, if you are like me and you're a Gemini rising, then and you also happen to be a Capricorn, then you're used to being in the shadowy world of the 8th house. But if you are not normally, you don't really have those kind of placements in a conscious placement, it could be a little bit difficult to receive the results of such a severe light up against things that you're not always readily conscious that other people can see about you. Okay? So how this translates is that anything that you do that normally you get away with doing that are that's kind of crafty, people can see the two-headed monster. In other words, right? They can see both twins, the one who kind of hides their face from the horror, and the other one who's actually like lighting the TNT, you know, like fuse to set the bitch off, right? We can see both characters at play right now. Okay? So it's a little bit different. It's a little bit different. I say that if people can see it, give them a show and stand on it. But if that's not what you truly want people to see, understand that whatever and however you're acting will be etched into their consciousness. And because of your nature, it will always be in someone's library of knowledge as it relates to you, if depending on how you display it, right? That could be used against you over and over again. They may change their opinion, but you may not, given your nature. Let's talk about the nature. You're dualistic, which most of the dual signs are. So if you ever do something tricky, which you most likely will do in the future, or Machiavellian, which you most likely will do in the future, get over it. Pisces, you're Machiavellian too, so shut the fuck up. Um, People will always have that in their library. Okay? They can write to their congressman. Get it? Okay. They can, about your shit. All right. So if you're going to have the light on you, then at least mean what you're saying, or at least give us a good hand puppet show with your shadow art. Okay. At least make it meaningful and not allow your emotions or irrational assumptions to then be what is highlighted that we can't unsee. Okay? So those are just some real world things, all right, that I see. Because mind you, I'm still a Capricorn. So even though I have a Gemini rising, and that does color my chart, and Mercury is my first ruler in my chart, the largest, and then Neptune second. This gives me the power of intellect, and with Neptune, it gives me the power to see through bullshit. I don't see a lot of astrologers really understanding the application of Neptune. Some do because they're super talented, but others are really like by the book or by the coursework they did. Not a lot of self-taught genius or brilliance or firsthand experience. But when you are used to being delusional and having to deal with the consequences of illusions or disillusions, then you become crafty naturally in detecting what is a delusion or illusion. Because if you're a person, if you're a human being, it is your nature to survive. And so if you are affected or afflicted by something, such as even being blind, it's natural to then pick up an extra sensory, right? So that you can hear the sound of your steps off bouncing off the wall to know where your distance is from an object or from a surface. So what would normally make, so in other words, you've always had, if you're like me, you've always had Neptune in aspect, right? So from childhood, you had a huge imagination, but you've had to struggle between illusion and disillusionment, and you survived it. Okay, or you're surviving, or you victor it, then that means that you become very what? Sharp and able to see through illusions and disillusionments. You're not easy to be, people can't fucking lie to you, okay? Even if you put on and let them, they can't, right? So Neptune in square to your natal placement If you utilize it properly over the time that it's there, it will help you see through your own BS, your own disillusionments and illusions. Okay? But you have to be willing and surrender to what Neptune has to show you about the things that you could not fathom without studying to show yourself approved. Neptune is the highest in our system of awareness. Some would even say it supersedes what we understand about God. Not just what we understand about mythology, which limits Neptune to water or Pisces, but Neptune's bigger than that. It's altruistic in its way, right? So, with that said, the energy and the interference that you are experiencing as a sun or moon is to teach you and learn you about how you can disillusion yourself. If you are like me and you have the benefit of having Neptune conjunct a conscious placement such as your sun or your rising, then you will be able to spot a lot of ways that people or the world is trying to disillusion you, or when people try to come to you with the BS, which will be very lucrative for you and puts you ahead of the game in your movements. Okay? You 10 steps ahead because you're probably planning for something that's bigger than what people have ascribed that you had the capability to build, which works in your favor too, because that means there's no one in your way. So continue to build while you learn, but learn, don't be a sore loser, and understand sometimes it takes two L's to make a W. Does that make sense? Okay? So don't take a loss so harshly. It's all about perspective after all. And no one can fault you for trying or paying the tuition to the school of hard knocks, which will come with failures in order to teach you. But wisdom denotes that as we make those failures, we become wiser and we learn how to apply what we learn a lot better. Okay? Don't let someone tell you they don't want you indirectly twice. Okay? Don't let someone have to tell you they do want you more than twice if that's something you want. Because that's a win that you don't have to dissect into two L's. Okay? Just saying. I know that doesn't make no sense. It's kind of backwards, but I'm just saying don't let people have to tell you something because you can't seem to rise to the occasion and have the confidence because you're being challenged to see through illusions that you may have never been tasked with. You may have never been tasked to even see through your own bullshit because you've had the experience of having twin or dualities at your hands and fingertips to, do whatever, make mistakes, and then have the other one come in and distract from the mistake while you fix it, right? But in Sagittarius season, and especially at that harsh angle that you're going to be with Neptune for quite some time, and then, my God, Jupiter's going to be squaring your energy here soon. You may want to learn these lessons now because you only stand to have an expanded awareness with Jupiter blowing everything up to just how, if you give to whimsy and illogical decisions, especially if it's your son, which could then detonate your ego button, just how devastating that can be. It's a pity to get so high to just fall down instead of taking the time to learn how to hover, learn how to levitate and keep your position. Okay? Be able to change altitudes. All right? Because with Neptune will teach you how to levitate and also how to change dimensionally. But you have to be open. And one thing I learned from Pisces is how to surrender. Surrendering is the process of becoming in alignment with what it takes to meet your goal. So if your goal is, let's say if your goal is to become a samurai, I'm just thinking about that, right? Or okay, let's reference Kill Bill. In order to learn what Pei Wei had to teach, Beatrix Kiddo had to surrender to the brutal nature in which Pei Wei delivered his lessons. But when she learned that it was better to practice obedience versus sacrifice, she became a stone cold killing machine. Do I make sense now? Obedience is better than sacrifice. Okay? So surrendering doesn't denote that one is giving up. That is the English understanding. Surrendering is becoming completely engrossed in the process without a lot of back talk and a lot of disagreement. Okay? Allow Neptune, in a way, to turn you into Beatrice Kiddo. All right? Then you'll never have to worry about losing any type of battle. You'll be victorious in everything that you attempt. Okay? That's all I'm saying. Instead of having loss after loss, again, you will connect the two L's to make one big W. Okay? One big win and consistently win. Not the appearance of winning, but actual satisfaction of knowing that it was an actual win. Okay? Okay. Let me pull a card for you. This is why it's going to cost you money to get with me for a reading. I'm just going to be real with you. Hey, I'm going to be disgustingly real with you. Okay? You need grit when you get readings. Otherwise, you could easily be misled and miss out on opportunities that are fine-tuned to your ability to perceive how to change your reality and when the temperature is changing around you and when to change the reality. Okay? It's just the way it is. Okay. We have the King of Wands. We have leadership. Okay? So there's a need for leadership. This is not about anyone else. This is about you. Okay? A leader must know what battles serve them. Okay? A leader should also be accountable that if one has acted in such a way that was not of integrity, that same action will come back to them in another form. For that person to then act up about this other form getting over on them when they've gotten over in other areas would be asinine, thus denoting their incapability of being a leader. So in other words, if you shot a man in Memphis, okay, he survived respectfully, right? Then don't get pissed off if you get your ass blown off in Los Angeles by another gun. That ain't a whole separate situation. They ain't got nothing to do with each other. But it's just. Okay? It's just. You survive it. But a leader understands that because they understand cause and effect. It may not be the same people, the same circumstances, but for the energy that was put out and the benefit of getting away and not being convicted of the crime, then one still has to answer for it. Okay? And what better way to be convicted than actually getting shot yourself and knowing what that feels like? Okay? All right. So then let's go ahead. There's like three meanings in that. So I'm not going to go into all of that. But I'm just saying. In other words, keep your hands to yourself unless you know what it feels like to get punched. Don't punch other people unless you can take a punch. Because don't sit here and cry when you get your lights punched out because you didn't know that you were heavy-handed over here. Okay? You can size it up all you want to, okay? But that's just the way that looks. A leader knows when they've been paid in full. Okay? All right. So let's pull you another card. And Sagittarius season is going to make that very, very, very understandable. Okay? BB says the reason they do that is because they're just reading out of a book instead of coming up with their own theories and such. Yeah, that's what we need. In the spiritual community, we need actual intellects. We need actual, people who think outside the box and who actually are brilliant and innovators, you know? Who are able to add to the scientific discovery that actually imprint and impress upon the people the realistic and very valuable, the very value of the system that gave way to all systems, and that's astrology, and that's divination and the occult and metaphysics. When we have a bunch of people who are following the leader and don't have their own mind to think for themselves, then naturally people will think you're a bunch of cuckoos because you're not able to make real world, like it doesn't, you may be able to make predictions, but the way that you go about things, such as assuming that people can read your mind or assuming that you have some locus of control over someone else without putting your actual bid in, like, all of these like twin flame shits and all of that. If you can't make sense of it to where people can make practical sense in their everyday, then it's going to sound like a bunch of bullshit. And so that's why I'm like, are we like, is the spiritual community or astrologers and metaphysicians, are we responsible for why people think it's a pseudoscience because we've lacked some integrity? So in other words, have we kept the arts from the people as much as the people have been kept from the arts? Like you gotta make some sense sometimes. And so I'm really hoping that we have more earth-based, earthy or grounded understanding, more practical application to these very mystic and outer worldly concepts that people can make sense of. Hell, people grasp the Bible, so I don't see why they couldn't understand these things. Religion is very real to the populace. So how could this be a figment of imagination that couldn't be observed? You know? I don't understand. You do have the Five of Swords. Let me pull you another card. And you have the Ten of Discs with establishment and the Moon card. Do not isolate yourself with the Eight of Swords at the bottom of the deck by defeatist ideas as it relates to the establishment. Understand some things. You don't have the bird's eye view on the makings because there may be a issue with being disillusioned. Okay. Also, too, do not go and fight battles. This is a tenet of the leadership that don't help you in establishing what it is that you're fighting for in the first place. If they dissolve you, then don't, like, if it dissolves your purpose and it dissolves your reputation, then it's not worth it. You're in the process of establishing yourself in your own right. Okay. You have things that are going to be revealed to you, and just make sure that they're not being revealed to you and like publicly. And so therefore we see is someone who can't be trusted with hard decisions because I mean, Gemini, you are always going to have childlike energy. Always, always, always. But if people see you making such a like a terrible decision, it's hard for you to ascend into leadership, because it's like, well, how did you not know that? Okay. You could also be affected at this time by, there could be someone who's working on your decision making, and they're leveraging your insecurities. So therefore, the way that you're being triggered, it makes you the front person that takes the brunt of the decision. So you look like the fool, or you are the one who they sent out for the fall. Don't let people sing you out, okay? Because they're sending you out for the purpose of making you look foolish, so that it then cuts you away from being a true threat for leadership, okay? In a world of social media, if people have you out there doing something, knowing that you are associated with some sketchy ideals, it could affect, I mean, people may not, people still party with you, but they won't do business with you. Does that make sense? Like, they won't trust big deals with you or your advice because of what they see you're associated with. Because they're like, how does one, if they're associated with this, which everyone else can see is foolish, then how can I take their advice seriously? Because if their advice is strong, then they should have been able to see this a mile away. You know, kind of energy. So just watch out for that. I don't know why I need to tell you that, because again, you know, with that square from Neptune to your natal placement, your natal sun or moon, um, illusions, and people can disillusion you if you don't pay attention to the wisdom of that. If you have to see a thing 2 and 3 times, you may not get all of those chances to see through a thing. Okay? And the what I'm hearing is that it makes you look like you may have good reasons why you want to be Machiavellian, but someone else knows that you're playing that game, and they're going to play that against you. So they will control the narrative that you've been Machiavellian the whole time, and nothing you say is a truth, and you cannot be trusted. And people don't do big business with people who cannot be trusted, or traitors. So be a person of your word. If you believe in a way, stand on that. I would rather you stand on it, even if you're proven wrong, because it shows that at least you have integrity. If you flip from one side to the other, and people know that you're like, you know that you're doing it for a certain reason, but you're the person who you're trying to expose, they're a step ahead of you, and they're going to use those movements to paint a picture and a narrative about you, okay, that you will not be in front of, because you're giving to, like, you're so close to someone who lacks so much integrity, that cannot be trusted, and you know that, but you are playing both sides to get an up on them, because you can't let it go because it's tied to your ego. That if you continue down this path, they're going to win, and it will be you who looks like the snake, even if that wasn't your intention. Now, if that's your intention, then that's what you deserve. Okay? I don't care about being no Gemini rising. Okay? I'm loyal to the truth, not to man. Okay? I'm just going to keep it real with you. I can be loyal to I'm loyal to people that I'm loyal to people that I love, meaning that I'm going to always be who I am, and whatever my word is my bond. But I'm not going to spare your feelings, because I feel like being honest could help you understand what you need to really come out of and grow up from. And there's an immaturity here. You're too old for this. And the world is getting real, real. So if you got some issues, I highly recommend, not that you see people who give you medicine, but you may need to see a metaphysician who understands therapies as it relates to cognitive behavioral therapy and rewiring and reprogramming, okay, to address some insecurities that you may have. Because the way that this looks, you may be trying to out or prove a point, but someone's going to use this shit against you. And you're the one that's in the right. But the way that you're moving and your emotions and the fact that your ego can get triggered, the way this looks is that I'm telling you, people may not say it, but they will treat you as if you can't be trusted and you're good to hang around and joke with and get information with, but not enough to invest in. So if you're in business for yourself, and especially if it is a business that requires one to be seen as an authority and one who is trustworthy, such as the King of Wands, someone who's operating in leadership, how can a Machiavellian, improper use of Machiavellian tactics be a good light that then will qualify or quantify you for a position of leadership? It's not. It's not. So, don't play with yourself right now. Okay? It's not that, it ain't sweet. All right? Some relationships you're not going to be privy to. Okay? That's a wrap. Okay? And that's okay. If it's meant for you, it'll come to you in another capacity. But just look at it as a small consequence to playing both sides, but playing against yourself. Okay? All right. Final card. And Sagittarius and Pisces, I'm going to come back and see y'all tomorrow. Don't get mad at me, goddammit. Don't get mad at me. I don't want to hear that shit. And Sagittarius, you know I love you. I'm going to give you an extra reading. Okay? But I had to go on order. I'm sorry, baby. That's just the way the cookie crumbles. And don't act like that because everybody loves them. It's all kind of birthday readings out there. It's gonna be good, okay? Your reading gonna be on time, okay? And if I do it right now, it's gonna be trifling. So I don't think that that's appropriate for your birthday. So I'm not gonna even play in your face like that. And then I'm also gonna do a Jupiter transmission for you, so that you can get something from its position in Aquarius and then Jupiter going into Pisces that can benefit you, okay? Pisces, you can listen to that transmission because you'll know what's coming in hot for you, okay? All right. One last shuffle for Gemini. Okay. Ace of Pentacles, though, okay? And then you have under the throw deck, you have the Magic card. You can turn this Ace of Pentacles into anything, okay? The Ace of Pentacles is an inanimate object, or it's an inanimate opportunity, okay? You can turn it into anything, all right? Take the new opportunity. I would say if there are heavy arguments with people, if you can afford it, leave it alone. Do not go any further trying to impress an image onto a person. Okay? Focus completely on yourself and your opportunities that are laid before you. Take this crown of leadership and understand that you have those who you have to leave that shit alone. If you've acted in such a way, you have to realize that the Five of Swords, if that's you, then take your losses, okay? Because you have to understand that other people have moving ships. So your actions, you need to have enough bandwidth to understand that they're not going to let your actions take down their ship for your ego. If your actions are toxic to their ship, then they have the right to protect the occupants of that ship. Because you may be acting from a position where the Moon card, you're disillusioned. So in other words, if you know that Five of Swords is taking place, If you want to preserve people's opinion, respect that people have established order, and do not move in on that territory until you understand more about what you're doing, the truth of what you're doing, and how it can be of benefit to someone else. Because if you continue to move, that person or that thing to which you are relating in a Five of Swords kind of way will be able to utilize that energy again and spoil this leadership and this ace of I cannot get away from that. Like this is really it's kind of fucked up, okay? But this is kind of what the season's bringing. Mercury just entered Sagittarius. I mean, listen, it doesn't do well here, okay? So if you are again operating in an underhanded way and you are giving yourself license to act that way based on information that you don't know fully, despite the fact that in your heart you believe that you are doing something right, I'm here to tell you there's something you do not know or you need to hold off on before you engage with this person anymore. Because you got someone who wants to vie for that leadership position that's sitting there waiting for you to fuck up and capitalize off of your silliness. Okay? Because what has happened is you've worked so hard that this big bank, this ace of disc, you feel this up. And if they are able to paint you as an idiot or you to be someone who can't be trusted with the bag or with leadership of such a heavy title, then they get in and they get the prize that you've been saving. They get the jewels, they get the people, they get the resources. And all they had to do was send you out to make a fool out of yourself in front of the right people who've been watching, and they'll take the crown. So what sucks about this is that when you've been marked for leadership, that means that the people that you're leading, their life is dependent on how you show up. So if you do silly things that knock you out the way, you're not able to protect the people that you were placed to be the charge for, or you're going to have to work really hard to gain their trust in you again. All because you didn't realize that you were sleeping with the enemy. Okay? And you were sent out to do something that doesn't reflect back to those who sent you out in the first place. Okay? I'm just saying that's some cold-blooded shit. Another thing, too, some things you just ain't going to be able to have. Okay? Some relationships are severed because they just won't work. It's been... Don't learn to, with the strength card, to have fortitude and respect yourself to know if you went too far and there's things that can't be unsaid or undone. Respect the other person enough to give them space and leave them to do what they need to do in your absence while you go and work out maybe the issues that put you in a position to misstep like that in the first place. Okay? All right, y'all. I'm finna go ahead and head out. Again, I do this right here at no cost to you. Okay? So this is my service. I will be back for Sagittarius and for Pisces. If you would like, you can reach out to me via email to inquire about booking your personal reading. All right? Aside from that, we will have the website launched here soon. I've been saying it all year, but now it is the time, and I will be dropping new content on our new channels. Tomorrow, hopefully I'll come back. That'll be the last reading that I do on this channel. Not for the year, but on this channel. Everything else will go to Nala, the Neptunian, or the Naughty Neptunian, where we're going to get real bad and I'm going to be real petty. I'm going to do some petty readings, okay? So in efforts to help us who are still living in toxic land, myself included, start to transcend our toxicity, okay? So in other words, I want to rope you in with some good and evil programming. Okay, that actually isn't that. Okay, that actually um, serves to have us look at the things we do in our relationships, and it's going to be based on different types of measurements. It's going to be pretty cool, okay, in the readings. And yes, you'll get a little bit of confirmation of your woes and your spying on others, as it relates to you, in a relationship. This is just one of the types of readings, right? But it's all with the goal of you taking ownership of getting yourself in those relationships in the first place, which has nothing to do with the other person and has everything to do with what you're generating yourself. Okay, I truly believe accountability is more than self-awareness. You can be self-aware and unaccountable. Accountability is the new, you know what I'm saying, creator of reality. Okay, it is not sexy because it means that we have to face uncomfortable truths, but it is necessary in order to dust our shoulders off and actually shine the way we're supposed to. Okay. Anyhow, this is your girl Nala-Ife signing off for Nala-Ife Talks Live, unscripted and off the chain. And I wasn't playing about that rib thing. I'm going for your jugular. Like, some people don't understand, they're going to need a triple bypass and a carotid artery unblockage about time I'm done. Okay? So you better suit up, boo. All right. Bye, y'all.